Are you a business owner, a podcaster, and/or multifamily investor? If you answer yes to any of those questions, this video, live stream, podcast episode is just for you because today we're going to talk about the importance of following up. And I'm not just saying following up annoyingly, but following up consistently to the point where you can start having business. In fact, I'm going to share what I've been doing and what I had to learn how to do more often. So welcome to the Failure is Knowledge Podcast. My name is Terrell Humphrey, and I'm the host of Failure is Knowledge Podcast. And over the last half a decade, we produced over 893 podcast episodes while helping 19 entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And when I start to recognize that, wait, hold on, I actually got to start operating a podcast as a business was maybe like a year, 2 years ago. And when I start to recognize, I'm like, okay, what is a business? What is a system? What are follow-ups? All these different things. I'm not just creating content. I'm operating a business. In order for me to operate a business, I have to be consistent with the follow-up. That's what we're going to talk about today. So make sure you got your notebook and pen because this is going to be a great episode. So point number one is that you have to do it daily. Hold on. Point number one, have a plan to follow up. So when I got into business a half a decade ago, and then I started learning about business maybe in 2021, 2022, like the last couple of years, as I start to learn about business, a lot of people talk about how you have to have lead magnets, how you have to have an email list, how you have to grow your following, how you have to go speak, how you have to go do all these different things. But they don't explain what happens after you collect their information. They don't explain what happens, after you go speak, you do a podcast and you get their information. Like, what do you do with their information? That is called the follow-up process. The goal is to get their email information, or is to get their information to where you can contact them consistently. But my struggle was like, okay, when I have the contact information, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to refer to? What am I going to inform them of? What am I going to even speak about? I didn't even know what to speak about, but I knew as I start to learn more about business, I'm like, okay, you got to follow up, but I'm like, follow up with what? What am I following up with? Like, I have no idea what to follow up with. So I didn't have a plan to follow up. I just collected their information. In fact, on my email list, I have 161 people on there. And I'm like, what I do with that? Some people opted into a funnel and got a lead magnet. A lead magnet is when I give something in exchange for their contact information so I can continue to reach out to them. But then it's like, well, when I get their information, what am I selling? What am I talking about? How often do I need to send a message? How often do I need to provide value? How often, what am I even talking to them about? And so I didn't have a plan to follow up. I just knew to collect the emails and the information, but I'm like, what do you do with that? Over time, as I recently, 2 weeks ago, I've been recognized. I'm like, wait, hold on. Following up is more than just posting content, shooting emails, sending text messages, all these different things. I actually, it makes sense now. I attended this 10X event, and then it was like that you have to follow up until they respond. And I'm like, follow up with what? Like, what are you following up with? They say you got to follow up. You have to follow up until they respond. And not only do you have to follow up to their respond, you got to get new customers. You got to get new leads. You got to get new potential. It was so overwhelming. And I'm like, man, how do you do this business thing? How are you going to really organize everything that you're doing? I'll tell you this. When I start to see the power of follow-up, when I start to help those 19 entrepreneurs, I was helping those 19 entrepreneurs because I was reaching out manually. Like, I was literally texting hey, da-da-da-da, then I reach out to them. And then if they don't respond, I follow with them. But I didn't recognize what I was doing. I was just doing what I thought was possible. And so over time, I'm like, okay, what do I follow up with? What information do I share? And I tell you this, being consistent, and I just recognized this morning, being consistent is following up. And I'm thinking following up is just shooting emails, it's sending emails, sending text messages, calling, all these different things. But following up is literally, I talk about this often, a system. Following up is a system. You have to consistently follow up. I thought just posting online was just me posting online, not knowing that it was a way to stay relevant. It was a way to stay consistent. It was a way to stay top of mind. So if they don't become customers today, that's absolutely fine. But the more they see me, the more they will start to understand the value that we provide. Following up is the game, it's the name of the business. And doing this course, that was like, let's just say it was 100 people on the training, 100 people. And he said 98% of people need follow-up. Need follow-up. And I'm like, 98%? So only two people will buy today? will buy today. I'm like, there's no way that isn't that, like 98% of people need following up. So that means that I have to do everything just to stay in front of these people. I'm like, how do you do that? I start to recognize how to do it. The podcast is the way to stay in front of people. And then when I communicate with them, when I reach out to them, I actually been utilizing my email list. And I'm like, oh, this is different because I'm seeing what I'm speaking about, and I'm seeing the amount of people that's clicking. I'm seeing the amount of people that's reading. I'm seeing the amount of people that's watching the post, and it's blowing my mind. What's going on, family? It's blowing my mind because podcasting needs to follow up. It's not just about having this conversation today. I'm thinking once I had a conversation, that's it. No. There's a lot more following up that goes into consideration. Yeah, and when I start to like put things in place, now I start to learn about email campaigns. Email campaigns, not just social media posts, but like how to really communicate with people. Here's the other thing that I start to learn: email campaigns, automation. So how can these emails be sent without me manually doing it? Sometimes I gotta do manually posts, but it's like, okay, when I understand the game of automation, the email campaigns can already be set up, but as they are already set up, it can just be sent out over time. That was a game changer because my podcasting is no longer just content creation. My podcast is a way to generate leads. My podcast is to generate attention. My podcast is a way to generate customers. My podcast is to generate revenue. And it made sense. It made sense because of this. Because the email campaigns helped me follow up. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's what I've been missing. I've been missing that piece. And that piece is something that I was struggling with. And over time, I was like, okay, if I do this right, I will be able to have a business. And so, although I have 161 emails now, I'm actually communicating with them. I'm actually providing value to them. I'm actually like explaining the podcasting game and what they can expect from it. That is a game changer because they might not become customers today. But if I continue to do it, if I continue to show up, if I continue to follow up, I will eventually have customers. Now the goal is to have more people on my email list so the 161 can increase, that it can multiply. Hold on, it's multiple. It can multiply. And what is it multiplying? It's multiplying because the more people learn about podcasting, the better opportunity I have to have a business that's generating revenue. The bigger the list, what I'm learning, the more people I'm able to reach out to, not just on social media, because social media is a way to attract attention, but now when I get them off of social media, I'm able to communicate with them consistently, something starts to change. What changes is that now I'm operating as a business. I'm operating as a business. I go to this dentist, Bay Breeze Dental, and their follow-up game is crazy. It is crazy. They call you to confirm your appointment, and then after your appointment, they send you a message to confirm is everything okay? And then if you have another appointment, they do the same exact thing. Their follow-up is crazy because they want to stay top of mind. Following up equals top of mind. So then when I go in, I'm asking questions. I'm asking questions because I have my own business. I'm doing my own thing. I'm like, man, like, how are y'all doing that? Like, why do y'all do that so often and all these different things? And basically, I don't know if you know this yet, but every time I go in and ask a business question, it's kind of like my business coach. Nonetheless, why? Because their business is operating as a business. If they come in, if a customer come in, they communicating with them, they talking with them, they getting their information. Most importantly, they're getting their information, and then they follow up with them, and then they communicate with them, and then they follow up with them again, and then they follow up with them again. The follow up doesn't stop. The communication doesn't stop. The consistency doesn't stop. What happens is that you increase the amount of, you increase the amount of things that you're doing to stay top of mind. You do social media, you do marketing, you do speaking, you do paid advertising, you do collaboration, you do partnership. You see, I'm struggling with doing everything because I'm like, man, I'm only one person right now. But what if I start to put the system in place? What if I start to put the system in place? Now I can follow up consistently. Now I can follow up consistently. And that was the thing. I was like, oh, that's it. Podcasting has a way to follow up with others because now I'm sharing videos, I'm sharing quotes, I'm sharing. It's so many. Yesterday I updated the master template. I have a master template. I might sell this one day because this is game. Like, it saved me so much time. But I updated the master template for the podcast, and when I was updating yesterday, I was like, all right, cool. So what I'm starting to recognize is that more equals better. So the more you put out, the more people will remember what you're talking about, but it has to be around the same exact thing. So people who come in encounter with what you're talking about, they know exactly what you are speaking about. So I was like, okay. So let's just say I had 10 quotes that if I'm doing a podcast interview or if I'm doing a solo episode, I have 10 quotes. And with these 10 quotes, it's something that I will say or something that the guest will say, but it's something that's valuable. And it just be like one line. But I'm like, that ain't really valuable because it don't give you no context. It don't give you no type of information. Like, how do you know this information came from this video? Well, you don't. You just know that it's a quote that this person said. So I was like, okay, what about if I change that, let's say to 20 statements that, statements that were said and what if they have context behind them? What if they have like meaning behind them? Not just like, don't be afraid to fail because failure is knowledge. What if the context was like, well, when I started to do business, I didn't know anything about lead and following up. So today I start to recognize that yes, there might have been a failure, but to turn into that knowledge, I have to follow up consistently. That context seems differently because now I understand the audience understand what I'm speaking about. So I'm like, if I do 20, I can do a lot more. I can literally do a lot more. A lot more what? Following up. Follow-ups. And that's what I was missing. So point number 2, Hold on. First point that we just went over was this: just that you have to have a plan to follow up. Second point, this one takes time, but if you do it right, it will save you a lot of time. So you got to start. Hold on. You have to start documenting. Start documenting. Hold on. No, not start documenting, because start documenting that's a horrible example. You have to start putting communication in place. Communication in place. You have to start putting communication in place. When you put communication in place, you can be more consistent, you can follow up more, and you can stay top of mind. I didn't recognize staying top of mind is what a lot of business owner does. Who's at the top? They stay top of mind because they are focused on providing value consistently. That alone will make you stand out even more, because it's something that will help you stand out even better. Why? Because you're providing value, you're educating, and you're constantly communicating with them. Every time I check my email, let's just say this is email, and I have a lot of people who are emailing me, and I check it every day. I check my email every single day. So if I have a lot of people that's emailing me, sometimes I don't know who's emailing me because it's too much. It is too much. Let me see if I can see my email right now. On my computer, I got 4,296 emails. So every time I open up my email, there are a lot of emails, right? So then I'm like, man, how do you do that? How do you communicate with people? Then I start to learn this term of broadcast. Oh, snaps. There we go. Broadcast. In other words, so my email list has 161 people. I can send one email. I can literally send one email to 161 people. One email to 100. So I'm learning how to communicate with my email list. I'm learning how to send messages. I'm learning how to send campaigns. I'm learning how to send, I just got an idea. Oh, that's okay. Now what I just recognized is, what if as I'm sending emails to them, I have specific campaigns for people who open. That's so smart. I got to see if I can do that, because if I can do that, that'll save a lot of time for the people who's actually reading it, and then I can follow up with them automatic, bro. This is crazy, because now I'm actually thinking about being a business owner. Last couple of months when I was in the Spark Incubator program at the University of Tampa, Low Entrepreneur Center, they talked a lot about the what is it called? The customer segments, and how to meet your customers where they're at. Because every customer is at different phases of their journey. But if you meet them where they are at, you can literally be able to connect with them even more. And so I'm like, all right, cool. How can I start applying that? So I was talking to one of my buddies. He was like, man, good thing that you're not making revenue right now, because you can put this in place. It's hard to stop generating revenue to put the communication in place to the point where you can actually do it more often. And I'm like, great point. That is a great perspective. Also, the customer segments are supposed to be segments. Also, the customer segments vary. Like, it depends on what they are doing, right? It depends on their journey. So what this means is, to follow up, I'm learning how to use automations, but I'm learning how to trigger things to the point where it's continue to communicate and follow up and help me stay top of mind, to the point where I don't have to do it every single day. When they take a certain action, they receive this email. When they take a certain, it's mind blowing. Shout out to one of my other mentors, Paul. He literally explained and broke it down, the customer segments on how you can do. It's crazy. It's crazy because it works. It works. It works because it's something that a lot of business owners has to do. They have to follow. It's not just about podcast business, podcast production business. It's about, if you're in business, you have to learn how to follow up. I've learning how to follow up in order for me to be profitable, in order for me to help more people, in order for me to actually operate as a business. But I can only operate as a business if I understand the system. Some things that I learned early on in my journey in my career was taught too early, because I didn't really understand the business that I had, the problem to solve, the customer to solve it for, all these different things. It was like it was prematurely taught. However, when I taught it and when I got taught it and I learned it and I started applying it, I'm like, oh, this is what they was taught about. This is why they making X amount of money, saving so many different people, because they have a system. They operate their business as a business, and they have more people who's helping them do the system. And I was like, that's crazy. Your podcast has to have a follow-up, because when somebody, there's a terminology called opt in. When they opt in, they're saying, I want to learn more about what you have to offer. They're saying, I like what you talk about. Oh my goodness. It is something that is going to help me actually have a business. If I get more opt-ins, I will have more people interested in what I'm speaking about. There's a book that I'm listening to right now. It's called 80/20. It's about sales and marketing. And the last chapter I just heard, he said something about, if people are coming to me and they want the services that I provide, I can literally sell them something because I'm not cold calling to them. And I'm like, man, that's what I was thinking about this whole time. But then now my new challenge is, how can I grow the email list? How can I grow? How can I grow the email list? Hold on. Email list with my ideal customers. So now I'm operating as a business because I'm always thinking about my customers. I'm always thinking, oh man, that's so crazy. I'm always thinking about my customers on how I can serve them where they are at. Because now, to launch, edit, and produce your podcast, there's a lot of things that has to go into consideration. And now it's like, okay, I can do social media, I can do paid ads. Now what I think I'm about to start doing is speaking engagements, but the speaking engagement would go to the webinar. So it would be podcasts. It will be podcasts, social media, webinars, speaking, and paid ads. So now what I'm doing is that I'm expanding the amount of ways I can get customers. But the reason why I'm doing it is because of the follow-up. I now have something to follow up with. And now I have a system in place. And that's the thing that I was missing. I'm like, man, it's so overwhelming to reach out to 161 people individually, but it's less overwhelming to reach out to them once per day. Because now I can send one message and it goes to everybody. Okay. I'm like mind blown, because I'm like, why didn't I start understanding that? Like I literally just started using and communicating with my email list recently. Like what? So just to recap the first 2 points that we talked about. Point number one is that you have to have a plan to follow up. Point number two is that you have to start putting communication in place, like putting your emails and systems and the way you're going to communicate, what you're going to communicate with. And the last one I'm going to talk about is this. Last one, I'm learning this today, is that you have to be patient. I have to be patient, because although I want the success today, I have to do the work in order for me to accomplish the success. And then it's like, oh, okay, so how do you do that? I'm like, okay, there's no more guessing no more. When I'm patient, I'm not guessing. I'm not guessing. When I'm patient, I'm consistent. When I'm patient, I'm focused. When I'm patient, I operate as a business. And that was the missing piece. That was a missing piece of the puzzle. Not just following up, but having a podcast. Because when people reach out to me, they get onto the podcast and that's it. That's it. Like a week later, I stop communicating with them. But what if I continue the communication to the point where if they are not interested, they can refer somebody. But when they refer somebody, like it's a never ending relationship. I was ending the relationship with the people who had interests. Not a romantic relationship, because I'm in a happily married relationship now, but I'm saying the relationship with people who want to launch their podcast, learn about podcasts, talk about podcasts, do podcasting, but they don't know where to start. And because when I tell you this, be patient, it's learning the system. What is the system? How do I go about getting more customers? Okay, when I go out and provide value, I'm getting nothing in return. So what if I change that? When I go out and provide value, let's say I have value and people want to learn more, they can join the newsletter. What if the newsletter is there to be joined and now I provide value, educate, and show the behind the scenes. I'm so glad that I took the time to learn more about the business, how to operate the business, how to follow up. Like it's mind blowing because I'm not guessing anymore. What I'm doing is that I'm doing the work. And I'll tell you this, on LinkedIn, I started like really posting every single day. And I get people who are reaching out to me. I'm like, man, this starting to get overwhelming. Excuse me. But what I recognize is this. So just like I've been posting my podcast consistently and people reach out to get onto the podcast, people are following. Hold on. This is mind blowing. People are finding me on different social media platforms to get onto the platform. And I'm like, where did you find me at? How did you find me? And then what I'm about to start asking is, why did you reach out? You see, hold on. Now I'm operating as a business. Because when they reach out once, I can continue to follow up with them. Come on. Podcasting consists of following up because I have to be the one to follow up consistently. There's a word called campaign. In fact, I don't even know the definition of campaign, but I'm going to look it up as soon as we get off. But from my understanding of it, I could be wrong, but from my opinion of it, it's setting up the system, setting up what needs to be done, why it needs to be done, how to do it consistently, how to do it effectively. When I set up the campaign, I set up the tools. To be successful. And last couple of months and years or so, I was trying to figure out what tools I needed to be successful. I think I thought I needed to go out and hire people first without having the tools in place, without having the system in place, without operating as a business. Because now when I go to other people and they start to work with me, excuse me, and they start to work with me and we are growing and making a difference and helping others, multifamily investors, launch their podcast, edit and produce their podcast, we are removing the overwhelmingness, we are removing the hesitation, but now we're operating as a business. Because we're no longer second guessing. It's a proven method. This is how you do it. I was watching this video dang, I forgot who it was. And then that was like, no, the 10 days, that was like leadership is making other people success easier for them. And I'm like, how you do that? Oh, you got to put tools in place. So then when I go to all these different conferences, shout out to Atlanta because they got a lot of black entrepreneurs down there. I'm like, man, how do y'all do it? They have systems in place. To operate your podcast as a business, you have to have a system in place. All these successful entrepreneurs, they're successful because they have systems in place. They have campaigns, they have tools, they have teams, they have structure, they have communication. And that was the missing piece that I was missing because I wasn't patient. Well, I was patient, but I was patiently learning, patiently getting educated, patiently learning how to apply the information and how to do the information and how to understand the information. That alone is what's going to change everything because I'm no longer guessing how to do business. So this has been a great episode right here. Because I've had a lot of epiphanies throughout this episode. So point number one, just to recap everything that we talked about, is that you have to have a plan to follow. When you have a plan, you can be more consistent. Point number two is that you have to start putting communication in place. If you're going to be emailing, if you're going to be doing social media, you have to start growing your email list because your email list is what's going to help you stay top of mind in addition to social media. And then the last thing that I talked about is that you have to be patient. As you are patiently waiting, start putting your communication in place. Start putting your follow-up in place. Start putting your campaigns or tools in place. Start doing the work to the point where you can be more consistent, but you can be more consistent because you're top of mind. And this has been one of the greatest episodes I've ever done so far because I'm literally like transitioning into a business owner because I'm not just doing it for fun anymore. I'm doing it to operate a business, and that is the game changer. So if you're an entrepreneur, a podcaster, or someone is out there growing something, and you want to join our newsletter, make sure you read the description below because our newsletter will be impactful. It will have a lot of information around how to not just podcasting, but business, everything that we're trying, everything we're doing, and how you can start applying it yourself. And so this has been a great episode. Lastly, don't be afraid to fail because failure is knowledge.